Now, dealing with adding and subtracting with regular fractions is fairly straightforward. Improper fractions is just as simple. We're just dealing with bigger numbers then. So, to take a look at that here, we're going to look at a couple examples on how we add and subtract with improper fractions. And we just have to remember that it's exactly the same procedure. It's just dealing with the numerators, as long as the denominators are the same. So again, all these examples will have that. So here we have a improper fraction, 4 over 3, and a irregular fraction, 1 over 3, and we're going to add them together. You notice how the denominators are still the same, and so all we do is we add the numerators together. So 4 plus 1 is 5, and the denominator is going to stay exactly the same. It's not going to change, and so we get an answer of 5 over 3. Now this is in simplest form, but if you want to change into a mixed number, you can. It'll be 1 2/3. We can take 1/3 out of 5, and we will be left with 2 as the remainder. 3 over 2 and 5 over 2. Again, you'll notice here that we have the same denominator, which again is very important. So we're going to have an answer over 2. We add the numerators together. 3 plus 5 is 8. And we have 8 over 2, or 8 halves. Now this here, there is a number we can divide them both by, and that is in fact 2. We can divide both the top and the bottom by 2. And so this gives us a 4, and this gives us a 1. And we have an answer of 4 over 1, which again can be simplified into just 4. Okay? Now it's important to remember that 4 is the same as 4 over 1, and 4 over 1 is the same as 4, as we're going to be kind of using them interchangeably throughout. And if we see a whole number, we recognize that it is in fact a fraction as well. And we'll go through that in a little later as well. All right, let's try a couple subtraction here. 7 over 4 minus 3 over 4. So the 4's are still the same, which is good. That means that we can put a 4 on the bottom. 7 minus 3 is 4. You'll notice that these are exactly the same number, 4 over 4. We can divide it both by 4, or we can recognize that this is just 1. If the numbers are the same, the answer is 1. And finally, last one here, we have 29 over 9, I know, big number, and 16 over 9. Yes, we're doing bigger numbers here, but that's okay. Big numbers are okay. We just have to recognize that we do them the same way. They're just a little bit bigger. The 9's are the same, so that means that we will still be over 9. 29 minus 16 is 13. And so our answer that we come up with is 13 over 9. Okay? Now, this cannot be simplified, so this right here is going to be our final answer. And sorry, I should maybe try to circle the final answers as often as possible here. Now remember, if it's improper, we can actually change it to either or. So that means that this here could be 1 4/9. And that would be our final answer. Okay. So that is adding and subtracting with improper fractions. We're going to go over mixed numbers right away. It just means that this video is going to be a little bit longer, as we're going to go through it all in one shot here. Questions are kind of all together. So mixed numbers are a little bit more complicated. The first thing that we do if we're going to add or subtract mixed numbers is we're going to start by adding or subtracting the fraction first. Okay, so we're going to start by doing the fraction first. Then we're going to add or subtract the whole number. Now there's a couple different caveats there. If the fraction is an improper fraction, we want to change it to a mixed number and then add the whole number as well. So if our final answer is has an improper fraction there, so if we added or subtracted the fraction first and we get a mixed number, we have to change, or improper fraction, we have to change it to a mixed number, and then we'll add that mixed number onto the whole number, or that whole part onto the whole number. That would be mostly with addition. With subtraction, what we're going to do is if the first fraction is smaller than the second fraction, we're going to borrow a whole number to make it a little bigger, and we're going to change into an improper fraction, and we'll go over a couple examples on that as well. So the first thing we're going to do here is 1 1/4 plus 2 1/4. Well, to start with, we do 1/4 plus 1/4, and now they're the same denominator, so we add the numerators. So this is 2/4, also known as 1/2. There's our fraction, and then we do our whole numbers, 1 plus 2, and that gives us 3. So our answer is our whole number, 3 and 1/2. So if we have 1 1/4 and 2 1/4, we get a final answer of 3 1/2. Okay, so it's simplified down and into 3 1/2. All right, let's try one of these where we get an improper fraction. All right, 2 over 5 plus 4 over 5 gives us 6 over 5. Now notice, as that's an improper fraction, this becomes 1 1/5. Okay, it becomes 1 1/5. Now, it's important, if we're going to keep it as mixed numbers, we want to change all of our answers into mixed numbers. But now what we're going to do is we're going to include this one here with our other whole numbers, right there. And so we're going to do 1 plus 1 plus 1, because we have 1 there, and 1 here, and this gives us 3. So our answer in the end is 3 1/5. We're going to keep that one right there. That becomes our fraction, and our whole numbers all get added together to become 3. All right, one more addition here. Now we're dealing with sevenths. So we have 3 4/7 and 2 1/7. So 4 over 7 plus 1 over 7 is going to give us 4 and 1, which is 5 over 7. Is that improper? Nope. It is a regular fraction, so we'll leave it as that. Then we'll take our whole numbers right here, and we'll do 3 plus 2. And because this was a regular fraction, we don't have to add that extra 1. And that gives us 5. So our final answer then is 5 and 5 over 7. Or 5/7 is another way that we can describe that. So that will be our final mixed number there. Again, whenever we do mixed numbers, we make sure that we have our fraction in lowest terms. Okay, as we always have to have it in lowest terms. So instead of it being 2 over 4, it's 1/2. All right, now let's take a look at subtraction. And we're going to do a couple examples with subtraction. So the first thing again is we start with our fraction. And we have 3/4, which is bigger than 1/4, so that helps. 3 minus 1 is 2, so this is 2/4, also known as 1/2. Okay, so there's that fraction. Then we take our whole numbers right here, and this is 2 minus 1, and that is 1. So we get our answer of 1 1/2. Okay, so that's our final answer as we subtract our whole numbers to get our whole number, and we subtract our fractions to get our fraction. Now, what happens if our whole number, or our fraction in the back, is bigger than the fraction in the front? Well, if we remember kind of borrowing from repeated subtraction, or sorry, not repeated subtraction, but regular subtraction, we kind of borrow something a little bit higher. We can borrow a 4, or we can borrow from the 4 here. So normally we would have 2 over 9 minus 4 over 9, but it's going to be a little challenging because we have that, because this is smaller than that, right? We don't want to go into the negatives right now. We want to keep everything in the positives if we can. So we are going to borrow 1 whole, okay? We're going to borrow 1 whole from here. Now, a whole has 9 parts, so we're going to add another 9 to it. We're going to add this denominator. So we're going to get, when we borrow, this is going to be like 3 11/9 minus 3 4/9, because we're borrowing one of the wholes here, and that is 9 of them, okay? So if this doesn't make sense, please let me know, and we'll go over it in class as well. But we borrow from there, and we kind of makes an improper fraction, and I'll show you why that helps right away here. So now, with the fractions, we have 11 over 9 minus 4 over 9, which is just 7 over 9. And then we use our new whole numbers, not the old ones, our new ones, and we do 3 minus 3, which equals 0. And so our final answer is 0, which you don't need to write, and 7 over 9, which is just our final value. Okay. So that's how we use it if all of a sudden our second number is smaller. You'll notice here as well, second number is smaller. This is where improper is way easier, but it's still important to know how to use the mixed. We want to borrow 1 from here because 1/3 is smaller than 2/3, and so this becomes 4/3 minus 2/3, And now you notice that's just improper, and we've done that before. We've borrowed this one, so that becomes a 0. Okay, it's just 0 minus 0, so it's not going to change anything. So this is 4 over 3 minus 2 over 3. 4 minus 2 is just 2. And our bottom there is still 3. So it is 2/3. And we had 0 minus 0 is 0. And so our final answer is 0, which again we don't need to write, and 2/3. And that would be our final value. Okay, so that's going over how to use mixed numbers for adding and subtracting, and I want you to try a few. The rest of the assignment is questions 7 to 10. Okay, if you're looking at doing the entire assignment now, it is questions 1 through 10. It'll be the entire assignment, which is on the back page of this, or on the next page. And there are A's, B's, C's, and D's, and some more for these questions. So I just ask you to please work through these questions, check your answers, ask me if you have questions, either through chat or in class, whichever one is going to work best for you at this point.